Hey, what's going on, good people? It's your boy back with another video. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all those great things for this algorithm. If you derive value, we would like others to do the same. Just jumping on with a quick thought. And it's really just nice and easy, does it? The way that we have been programmed since we have been birthed into this matrix physically and then mentally, we've been assaulted and programmed on every hand to be leveraged, to be conditioned so that we can be leveraged for the benefit of the matrix and of the system. And this system tells you to work hard, work by the sweat of your brow, work hand to mouth, and it conditions us that nothing comes easy. And so we learn from a young age to work and work hard for what it is that we get and the little that we get. And that seems to be the paradox. That's like a lot of times the first indicator to let you know that something's not right and there's more to this world. And again, I am not a proponent for laziness or slothfulness, and I am not talking about hard work because I am, not to toot my own horn, but I am one of the most diligent and hardest working people you will ever know. And anybody that knows me and you ask them about me, and that would probably be one of the top two or three things that they list about me. And that's not to brag on me. That is just to give credibility to that I'm not discrediting hard work. And matter of fact, it has worked against me for much of my life because it has had kept my mind thinking linear and working hand to mouth when life is actually so much simpler. But better late than never. And we can't harp on things. It's once the information comes and you know better, you do better. But it conditions us to work hard and to not feel worthy so that we feel like that this is life and this is the way it's supposed to be, not knowing that this is totally opposite of how we were created and wired, and this is not how we're supposed to live. God, whether you call, God, source, universe, whoever, whatever, I don't get hung up on that. Source, energy, whatever you want to call them. Um, he has wired us and he has made it very simple. But the program goes very deep from this matrix. And so we have a lot to contend with when we are unlearning to relearn. But it actually is so simple. It is so simple that sometimes you can feel guilty because it's so simple, and eventually it becomes easy the more and the longer that you work with it. But he designed us to live from the inside out. This world and this matrix is designed from the outside and really don't acknowledge the end at all. So it's more so based on working hard, um, doing everything by the strength, by your strength, by your ability, by your resources. And that's where discouragement, that's where frustration, that's where despair, that's where impatience, that's where all of these things come from because the Bible talks a lot about the flesh warring against the things of the spirit. And we know that the flesh is basically the egoic identity that separates itself from the divinity that's within us. We know the divinity as spirit, some may call it essence, soul, ultimately it's Christ, God in you, Christ in you. Some may call it universe, source energy, whatever you call it, whatever you refer to it as. I'm just talking about the invisible essence on the inside of us. That's the real us. And the ego is this avatar, it's this flesh suit, and it's this brain programmed by the world that is opposed to anything that of a true spiritual nature. Um, and so the ego or the body and the mind combination has been used to doing things its way and getting results, whether they have been limited or beneficial. It's been used to doing its own thing and working and dictating and running the show for so long that it's gotten used to it. That's why I say when we set out to change, um, a lot of times what we perceive as resistance or as an inconvenience is actually a good thing because that means that our mind or our brain is doing the job that it's wired to do. And so the only thing is, we think that we have to overpower it and meet it with force, but you can't beat or you can't fight fire with fire. So essentially, what we're trying to do is go ego to ego, or force versus force, and you're not going to win that game because the ego has had thousands, maybe even millions of years of practice and a head start, and it's too good at what it does. So when our conscious mind is fighting a new idea, it's for our benefit. I always say that the conscious mind is the guard dog or the security system for our mind, and it does its job well. It's designed to keep whatever is on the inside as deemed as valuable. If it's been there since you've been here, it has operated and gotten you to this point. It's just what it is. You haven't tried to change it now. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So it's designed to keep whatever patterns and habits and programs that you have had up to this point is designed to keep that inside the house because it's deemed as valuable and treasure. Even if it works against you, or even if it's not the right program, it doesn't make that call. If this has been with you for this amount of time, then it's good and it serves you, so I'm going to protect it. So it keeps it on the inside. And it's designed to keep anything foreign. It's looked on as an invader or a stranger, and it's designed to keep it out, even if it's beneficial. So it's actually doing its job. We just have to learn how to leverage it. You don't have to manipulate your brain or your mind. It's yours. You have the keys. You have the passcode, so you don't have to try to go in through the back door or try to bootleg bootleg it, or hack into it. There's nothing to hack into. You have access to it. You just have to learn how to use it. And so then that's what we come into. Once we're learning how to manifest, we see that we take a lot of our linear concepts of this realm, this matrix, this world. We try to take it into the quantum world, and try to spiritualize it or think that it's going to carry over and get results. But that's ego. Anytime you hear about somebody that has a big ego, what is that referring to? It's probably like a stubborn person, a person who thinks they're larger than life. They think more of themselves. They're probably very stubborn, very rigid. They're used to doing things their own way and getting results that way, even at the expense of other people. So when you're thinking about the ego, you're just thinking about the identity that is gained its independence, and its identity and everything that it has apart from the spiritual aspect of you. So it's like, why do I need you? I've gotten this far on my own. My methods work better, even if they don't, and even if at the expense of eventually destroying the body. It's a very stubborn. It's a very closed system. But once we come into learning universal laws and manifestation, law of assumption, law of attraction, whatever you want to call it, it's very difficult at first, is because we get used to striving, we get used to force, we get used to laboring for everything, working by the sweat of our brow, that even if something is simple, it's got to be too good to be true, or it can't be that simple. So we make everything a work. So for instance, we feel like we may have to visualize 24/7, and the moment that we stop visualizing, that means that either our manifestation is not going to come or it's going to delay. We feel like we have to affirm, decree, declare. We turn everything into a work. So essentially what it is that we're giving ourselves another job or two. We turn everything to a work. So we feel like what it is that we seek to attain, or what it is that we desire, it is contingent on our effort, when actually it's not. Think about the conscious mind as, I know I just called it the security system and a guard dog, but think about the conscious mind. If you're in a company, the subconscious mind is the CEO, it's the founder, it's the head man, or even the supervisor. We say it's the person that's in charge. Their job is to take whatever desire or whatever orders, whatever it is that they want to see, or whatever the end goal is, and to pass it down the chain of command and to see that it gets done. They don't have any direct interference with the actual process of getting it done. Their job is to just make it clear on the end goal or the intention or the order, pass it down, and sit back and allow it to get done. Um, and so our subconscious would be like the employee, the faithful employee, the fake competent employee that has shown themselves more than faithful, more than competent. They go above and beyond. They don't take a day off, yada, yada, yada. They have proven them, so they have a proven track record. So when we feel like that we have to, when we're first learning manifestation or we're first learning how to live from the inside out, think about your conscious mind as the CEO. All he's supposed to do is get orders. If it's a gardener, all you have to do is plant the seed. You don't actually, you may not even understand how the process works. But so after you plant the seed, you just have to trust that the way that God set up the earth, as long as you have planted the seed, you water it, and it has sufficient sunlight, you've done your job. You have to sit back and allow the process to play itself out. You don't dig up the seed every hour or every couple of minutes to see the process that it's making or try to interfere or interject or make it happen quicker. Same thing with the conscious mind. Once it plants the seed, once it gives the intention or the goal, that's it. That's the only job that it has. But when it becomes overbearing or a nitpicker, when it wants to, like the supervisors that be on your back after they tell you what it is that they want done, then you've proven yourself competent, but then they want to stand over your back. They on your back every 5-10 minutes, seeing where you at. Then they're trying to show you how to do it, and just really micromanaging when it's not necessary, and that causes a lot of tension and a lot of frustration. And it's the same thing with us. We frustrate the process when we allow the conscious mind to become a nagger or a nitpicker, or to try to oversee and micromanage the process that takes that runs efficiently, that does what it's supposed to do and runs smoothly without its oversight once it has given the initial order. And so, that's my understanding, and it has been hard for me because for 37 years, and it's crazy because I'm kind of not kind of, I am an anomaly. It's like I'm left brain and right brain. Of course, we all have left brain and right brain. We have a whole brain, most of us. But left brain and right brain as far as how we operate, with the left side being more analytical, more linear, more practical, more of this realm, and then you have the right side where it's more fluid, it's creativity, there is music, there's more free flowing, that's more so of the spiritual aspect. And I'm actually strong in both, but have more, up to this point, I have had more of a bent to the left brain. And so it's hard for me because I'm an introvert. And then, like I said, I am more predominantly left brain. So I'm more so what practical, what makes sense. I'm used to having to work hard for every penny. My story of money up until this point has been that of scarcity, of lack, poverty, have had extreme trauma, more so as an adult. I mean, I grew up with the typical story, hood story as a kid, but most of the extreme trauma surrounding finances or lack thereof has happened as an adult with the family. So that, being written into the story, I say all of that to say that it was very hard for me making this transition because I felt like if I wasn't doing something or if I didn't do something, that nothing would get done. And then I have had scenarios replaying in my mind of times in the past where I didn't do or was not able to do, and everything went to hell. And so that's playing back in my mind and reinforcing my belief and perception and my money story, and it's just looping, and it's just like constant feedback. We know now that our perception shapes our reality. So if you believe this to be so, even if this is not true and this is no one else's story, if you believe it, you're going to see evidence of it. You see evidence of it, that's going to reinforce the beliefs in your mind, and then it's like, again, a continual feedback loop until you get in there and you change the story that you tell yourself. And so it has been very difficult for me. But then Like I've been talking about the last couple of videos, just as part of trusting the process and seeing resistance as learning opportunities and not inconveniences, I've been able to have the mirror put to my face to be able to see myself and to see old programming and to see wrong perspective and to see and experience how things truly get done. And it's just like, man, why couldn't I arrive at this much sooner? It's actually so simple. It's so simple that even a child can do it. That's why it's designed to be that way, because we are supposed to learn this as children, so that's the program that's running on autopilot, so that we don't have to struggle as adults. We was not given that for whatever reasons. Our parents, our guardians, our caretakers did the best they could with what they had. It's not their fault. They didn't know. School system. You have a whole bunch of well-meaning, well-intentioned people that love their job and love what they do, but the system that they are propagating and plugged into is very insidious, and those who created it and those at the top had an agenda, even if those propagating it didn't. So the teachers were just doing their job, um, doing what they felt like they were passionate uh, um, and called to do, they love to do, and to feed their own families. So it's not their fault. Um, we can't do anything about what we didn't know. We can only do something with what the information and the knowledge that we have now. Now that we know better, we do better. We going forward not only do better, but we teach and we raise our children differently. And it starts now, and we perpetuate it. So learning how simple things are, it's so simple. Like even in the Bible, one concept that I always wrestled with was laboring to enter into rest, which is like a conundrum. Like, how do you labor to enter into rest? That just seems like laziness. It's like, how does that work? But only now in my 13th or 14th year of being born again and learning universal law, learning the true essence of the Bible and just spiritual reality, is it all starting to make sense? It's just like, man, ultimately what we're learning to do is to leverage the way that our mind and our brain already works. So the conscious mind is the one that gathers the information, but it's not responsible for the formulating of how it's carried out. That's just like in school. Um, if you didn't have good study habits or you wasn't a good student, a lot of times you found yourself trying to cram at the end, at the last second for a test or for a quiz, and you fail epically because you're trying to compound and pile all of this knowledge uh, that you should have been studying and devouring in increments systematically, so that when the time comes for you to have it, you will have it and it will flow from you. But you're trying to beat the process and beat the system and get it all in one night or one moment. And that's not the way that the mind is designed to operate. So um, you fail miserably. Or even just like, for instance, like if you've lost your keys or you've lost something or misplaced something that's important to you, and you know where you had it last, but it don't seem to be there, or you're trying to recall somebody's name, and you racking your brain and trying to go down the alphabet and you go by their face, and no matter what amount of effort you try to formulate to accomplish what it is you're trying to accomplish, it's not until you let it go, and it's just like when you're doing something else, you're not even thinking about it. It just pops in your head. That's how life works, and that's how it's supposed to work. But it is more difficult when there is more emotion or more urgency attached to it. And I'm not saying that the situations in life are not urgent, because life can be very real. But we have to first and foremost remember that life is a simulation. It's a game. We have to approach it as such, and in order to we're obviously in the midst of it, and we're gonna be in the midst of it, and it's evolving more and more every day. So the best way you can't just bury your head in the sand and avoid it. You're just gonna be a casualty. You're gonna continue to be an NPC in the background. You have to learn the rules of the game, learn to play the game, and leverage it. So, with that said, we have to leverage the way that we have been created. That's how life is supposed to work in every aspect. So, we have to reduce the importance and take our desires off of the pedestal. Whatever that is, whether it's money, that's like 90 something percentile of the globe, and that's not without good reason. But we have to realize that money is a construct of this matrix. Money is something that has been given value because they gave us the value that they wanted to have, and they have attached it to things to reinforce that. So now we equate our needs, our comfort, our freedom, and our desire with this currency, whatever form it takes that they have given us and the value they have passed down to us. And so there's a lot of unlearning and deprogramming to relearn. But the thing that has helped me the most in letting go is really meditation, man. Meditation is key, but the thing is learning how to leverage it and learning what works for you. We know that we all think in pictures, and we all have self-talk, that ceaseless chatter in our head 24/7. We have to learn how to rewire ourselves. That's the program. Like I said, I always liken it to a movie. The self-talk is the soundtrack, and the visual aspect, that's obviously the movie or the screen. You have to converge and mix the two. You have the movie of our lives. The brain is the projector. Our lives are the screen. So the evidence of what film that we have in a soundtrack of our lives is evidenced in our life. So if we want to change what happens on the outside, we obviously have to change what's going on the inside. That is done through repetition, obviously, not by force though. It has to be a frequency thing. And when I say frequency, I mean not vibration, energy frequency, but we have to be consistent and we have to be systematic. You can't overload yourself. Rome was not built in a day. These programs did not take place. We did not arrive at this place that we are now in a day. It's going to take time, but you have to leverage it. You have to be consistent. Yes, be passionate. Yes, be intense, but know that you cannot override the system's programming by force or by sheer will. If that was the case, it would have been done already. So we have to be systematic, we have to be consistent, and we have to be fervent, but we also have to detach and let go. And that's a big part of it, a large part of it. That's probably 60% of it. So the ratio is probably 40-60. And that's just my interpretation, of course, of what we have to do versus how much of the process we don't control. What has helped me is meditation. What really, really has helped me is leveraging, and any great teacher, all the greats will tell you, it is the hypnagogic and the hypnopompic states, which basically means those states of mind, of drowsiness and drifting off right before you go to sleep, and the waking up in the in-between state from when you're waking up from sleep until the wakeful state. We have to leverage those because those are like the most suggestible and susceptible times that the subconscious mind is exposed. Like I say, if the conscious mind is the security guard and the guard dogs of our subconscious mind, we have to lull them to sleep, or we have to distract them. We have to know how to occupy them to divert their attention so that we can get inside of the house that contains the treasure. So those are like optimal times. We start there, but we have to be able to cultivate that as a way of life. The beta state of mind is just our normal waking state of mind, where it's like high stress, high anxiety, hyper vigilant, hyper aware. There's nothing wrong with it, but that's not how we were created to live optimally. Ultimately, you want to get to the alpha and the theta states, and that's like a light. That's, like I said, like that state right before you go to sleep. So where it's like you're half sleep and you're half woke, like you're alert and you're aware, but you're starting to drift off. That means the conscious mind is winding down, preparing itself for sleep. That's the optimal time that the subconscious mind is exposed, and it's suggestible and susceptible to programming. So what we have to do, like I said, we have to change our story. So we have to, that's the optimal time to take maybe 10, 15 minutes of your time. Some people can do it with music. Some people require music. It's whatever you need, what works for you. Get you some light soaking music or some meditation music or some rain or some oceans, nature sound, whatever it is that can relax your mind. And in doing that, you have to see things and not only see it, but you have to feel it and experience it as real how you would like to see things. So it would be like the polar opposite of what things are now, and you want to dismiss and you want to turn your attention away from that and um, start to cultivate the state and the feeling of things, how they would be if you had your way and how you desired for them to be. So you can't see yourself as broke, struggling, living from hand to mouth, stressed out, highly anxious, susceptible to the conditions of the world. You have to see yourself in the state of abundance, whatever amount and whatever lifestyle that looks like for you, and then you have to feel the feelings of how that will feel. So you will probably be more relaxed. You will probably feel secure. You will probably feel not as restricted. So that means you would feel free. That means that you would not be happy, but that you would be living from a place of joy. You have to get the feeling because the visual counts, but that's only the direction. You need the fuel and the power to get you to that direction. That's where the emotion and the feeling comes in at. So you want to cultivate that state and you want to see yourself because the conscious mind thinks abstractly. So it thinks in words and numbers and it's linear phrases. It understands logic. Subconscious does not communicate like that. The subconscious is the feeling, and the emotional center is visual. And so, like I said, if we're talking about the movie, that's where your film is contained at. So you have to not only get the vision, but you have to actually merge it with the feeling, so that it's like a whole, full, immersive experience. And you want to cultivate that and allow it to simmer, and you immerse yourself in it to the point till it becomes natural. And you're not realistically going to be able to maintain that state 23 hours a day when you're just starting out. So that's why I say, namely, you want to get, that's two times a day right there, when you be right before you go to sleep and right up on waking up. And then you may have your midday somewhere where you take 10 or 15 minutes out of your busy and chaotic day and just get somewhere and sit alone and just cultivate an atmosphere and a state of joy and peace where you can just allow yourself to relax, immerse, and receive. And that's just for starters. Hopefully, I didn't ramble on too long. Hopefully, it was coherent enough to where you can understand me and hear me clearly and be able to implement it to where you got some value out of it. Like I always say, how it is on my mind and how it comes out, I don't always think or feel like that I'm able to convey it how I hear it, but I also want to make it simple and practical and applicable to practical life. So like I said, hopefully you derive value from it. Like, share, comment, and subscribe for more content. And until next time, peace.